What's going on, everyone? Charlie here. I have kind of an update for you regarding the securities financing transaction service that's supposed to be implemented by the NSCC here in the next couple months. I dug up an old interview from Broadridge, who is actually going to be a SFT submitter for the service. And this was decided way back in January. So that makes me think even more that this filing is the mother of all filings. Let's go ahead and take a look real quick at what we're talking about here. So I dug up an old interview from Broadridge in late January where they are talking about becoming an approved SFT submitter. I think I skipped a slide. Oh, maybe I didn't. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Now, if you're wondering what an SFT submitter is, don't worry. I have that covered for you. From the filing itself, the term approved SFT submitter would mean a provider of transaction data on an SFT, which stands for Securities Financing Transaction, that the parties to the SFT have selected and NSCC has approved, subject to such terms and conditions as to which the approved SFT submitter and NSCC may agree. Clearly, they have been thinking about this for some time, as Broadridge became an SFT submitter right after the January events that happened, way before this filing even came out. So to put that into perspective, the parties, the borrower and the lender, have to both agree, and the NSCC has to approve the SFT submitters. So it's going to be very interesting to see which parties are going to be the ones doing this service. So maybe this is the filing we need. I've always thought it was, so I don't know. We'll see. And if you're still wondering what this filing is, this is the 369-page long filing that was filed on August 5th. And it talks about liquidity drain mitigation. It talks about fire sale mitigation. In essence, supposed to protect the broader market from a too rapid of a crash, basically. It does provide some netting benefits to members and things like that are going to use this for clearing. But yeah, basically overnight is going to be the primary time frame in phase one. This is going to come out in phases. So again, let's take a look and see what Broadridge has to say about it.
The market is aware of the new NSCC SFT equity clearing service. What would be Broadridge's role as an approved trade submitter?
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, so an approved trade submitter, its role is to bring together the trade flow from the lenders and the borrowers, and to then match it, ensure that the data is the same from both parties, and then submit down to NSCC on the behalf of both parties. And we call that like the Y shape. So it's essentially a Y. You have two inflows and then one outflow. And then the reverse of that will be that when NSCC accept that trade event, that's then pushed back up to the parties, or can be visualized on the Broadridge UI. So it's a fairly simple process.
Okay, so what he's explaining, the why thing he's talking about, is this right here. He's saying that going into the NSCC, you're going to have a borrower and you're going to have a lender. There's going to be two separate inflows going into the NSCC. And then what they're going to do is you're going to take that, and if they accept it, they're going to push it back out, and it's going to turn into one outflow. So what he meant by the Y shape is if you visualize this, it creates a Y, borrower on one side, lender on the other, both going to the same place, making the Y NSCC. These are your two inflows, being the securities from the lender and the cash from the borrower going to NSCC, and at which point they take that, turn it around, and create one outflow back to the lender and the borrower. So that is what he was referring to. Let's continue on.
Organizations do you see using this utility, and is there a different use case based on size?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so obviously it's about supply and demand. So the supply needs to be there on the asset side. So the agent lenders, asset managers, etc., are definitely looking at this as an ability to get their supply out. On the demand side, you obviously have the broker dealers, the banks, etc., who are looking to be able to tap on that. That side does get the ultimate sort of capital reduction benefits. And so the borrowing side are really keen to make sure the supply is going to be there and they can access it and clear it to get that reduction. The question about the different sizes is a really good one, because we've had to think about that as part of the offering. For a large organisation, they may well look to have connectivity and messaging going on to transmit the trade events to us, etc. For a smaller organisation who are maybe have a smaller book size or a smaller number of trades per day, are they okay with just dragging a spreadsheet in and putting it into the UI? Do they want to perhaps manually key those tickets in? So we've had to think about the different size and how that affects the usability of the application.
Okay, so what he was saying basically, actually, I'll wait till this finishes. Hold on.
Organizations do you see using this utility, and is there a different use case based on size?
Yeah, a great question. Yeah.
Okay, so I messed up the last part when he expects this to go live. He says that he expects this to go live in Q3. Well, obviously, this interview was done back in January, so we're past that point. We got a designation of a longer period for commission action, and I believe it was mid-September. So I believe sometime in November, early November, we should see something. But what he was saying in the second clip there, he was saying that the borrowers are going to have to make sure that the supply is there. Otherwise, it could be very, very bad for them. But for the ones lending, the ones with the supply are going to have the most benefit from this service. So that would be people like Fidelity, people with the shares, anyone with actual legitimate shares. So you would imagine, considering the amount of customers Fidelity has now, that they're sitting on most of the shares. So anyways, here's Gary Gensler to do a bunch of crazy shit. All right, my mouse is the crime. Come get it, Gary. Come get it. Oh my God.